Alright, folks. Let's get a sound check. Make sure you guys can see us.
Echoes.
Which ones?
I hear echoes.
Let's get, let's make sure you guys are good to go. I do not see your chat. Now make sure you guys can, see and hear us. Make sure that they... We had some internet troubles here for a second, so we're starting 15 minutes late. Make sure we're good, and you're gonna have to tell me if I green because I don't have my laptop tonight. Yeah, you can just switch to scene 1 for right now. We're seeing how this thing's running. Yeah, we're good. No, we don't need that right now. I don't know what's going on here. We're all balled up tonight. Sorry, guys. We're good. We're good.
No, output's low.
Huh? That's spread? Oh, man. Video is not good. May. Yeah, we'll see if it clears up, guys. I don't even have my laptop down here right now, but we were having some problems with the internet. So I mean, if it balls up, if we have to reschedule it, we will. But we'll see if we can get through it, and see if this thing's holding. Let's get this pushed around here, 500. Let's do 875. All right, guys, we're gonna rebalance this here. So tonight we're gonna. Is it still green? We're good.
Seems good.
Yeah, if we let us know, guys, in the chat if we end up having problems. This internet thing's balled us up tonight. Charter hasn't been playing well, at least for our connection. The couple big things tonight. One, we're going to be doing the giveaway for the ZOTAC. So we have all the entries in. We had about 579 people enter it. Actually, I had about 900 entries, but I had a few people that were funny and put like 400 entries in, so we had to clear some out, almost 400 entries, with different email addresses, all same IP. So we pulled those ones out after it was all consolidated and situated. We're right around 500 entries for this, and I'll grab that right where you guys can check that out because that's gonna be a hot one. You're gonna have to look at that. This is the giveaway tonight. So we're doing the ZOTAC AMP Extreme Edition. This is a 1070. It's one of the best ones out there on the market for all your guys as being awesome and following us and subscribing and all that fun stuff. So we thought we'd give back to the community with that. This one tonight that we're doing is the GTX 1060. This is a 13 card build. We'll go through and kind of go through some specifics of it. And just set some settings on it. We haven't done any configuration on this right now. These are pretty much out of the box. Tonight isn't to really see what we optimize these for. It's more of just the build look. And then I want to do a deep dive between this one and then the 1080i rig that you see all the 1080s up here, 1080 Ti, of kind of like the extreme, which was in this case. We have another case being built. And we'll try to get through this build, and then when this one gets done, we have a new case for this one for the 12 1080 Ti's. It'll be kind of a 12 versus 13 1080 Ti, both from a cost standpoint and from both using the same board to kind of show you the differences. What's going on? Yeah, I can see here.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah. Let's She's making fun of the camera placement here. I wanted to try to make sure you guys see the power usage of this right now. So this being the 1060 GTX right here build is more of a kind of a lower cost build when it comes to 13 GPUs. If you're going to choose 13 GPUs and you can't get your hand on some of the AMD cards, this was kind of the lowest cost build that you could get that is really into mining, which is the 3 gig version of the 1060. Now out of the box you can see, and we can switch the scene here. I think I got the controller here as long as the view is set. We'll set I'm getting all kinds of off-cue stuff here. Let's see here, off-camera cue. No, none of my scenes are switching. I'm gonna need Chris. She's not paying attention tonight, guys. Sorry. Scene 2 on that. Yeah. So what? That is the actual configuration in Simple Mining. Yes, we want to keep that one up there. So you guys can see in Simple Mining, this is actually using Simple Mining for the OS. And the reason why we did that is Windows right now, while it'll actually show, like I can get Windows to boot, I can get it to have all the cards in play on the NVIDIA side. Unfortunately, it will not run with the GPU miners that are in Windows right now. Right now, even if you did like 6, NVIDIA cards and 7 AMD cards, you actually have to start up 2 different miners pointing to the 6 NVIDIA and then a second miner set up to the 7 AMD cards. And so right now with 13 card builds with both the H110 Pro BTC and the subsequent TB250 BTC, which is the 12 GPU board that comes from BioStar. Right now, the Windows software isn't really supporting these unless you want to do some crafty stuff with the miner. So we went straight to Simple Mining, and that's why I kind of got it up on this screen right now, showing all 13 GPUs running right now. And again, we haven't done a lot of the configuration stuff. This is kind of the out-of-the-box settings for these GPUs right now, which you're looking at about 18 and a half, a little over that. Now these things should top out about 22, 22 and a half, maybe 23, but these single fan 1060s are not as strong as like the For the Win edition. The For the Win edition, you're going to push into the 23 and a half, almost 24 range. You can push these. I've had a couple of the 1060 single fan cards. The super clocked version of these actually hit 1,000 megahertz, and you can get those close to 23 and a half. But you're going to look at the lower end of being about 21 mega hash on these cards, but not using a ton of power. I mean, right now, we haven't really done any kind of power configuration on these, but we're talking 13 GPUs right now running at about 13 and a half total wattage usage. I think that's if they can see that wattage usage, it looks like. Yeah, 13. Is that 13? Is it 13 or is it 16? No, it's 13. Yeah, 1300 watts on the two 850 P2. So it's the platinum power supplies that are in this. And what we'll do is we'll take a little, you want to go to scene 3 and we'll get a good view of these in full screen. This build. And I'm not looking at your chat right now, guys, so I'm just kind of giving you guys a walkthrough of this build. Now, this has enough size. This case here, this right here is 17 inches. On this length, it's 17 inches tall, and it's 28 wide. You could technically get these back to back. Like, you could put another card on this side here, and it would have more than enough room versus having to do kind of a double-decker setup like we have here. But you can kind of see the kind of offset that we have with this. We had the 1080 Ti's in here before, and we have a new case for the 1080 Ti's that we're going to be doing this week. Actually, tomorrow we'll be building that. But the 850 and then the other 850 down there, and I'll walk you through kind of what we had to do. Now, the 850s all come with, these are all 6-pin connectors for these 1060s. So 2 850s is enough for 12 of these cards. If you want the 13th like we've done here, you actually have to kind of rob Peter to pay Paul from another power supply, or you're going to have to get another double connector like this. So these EVGA connectors that come with this, the 8-pin and the 6-pin here, you're going to have to grab one more of these and switch it out for one of the singles, because there's not enough actual 6 and 8-pin connectors on both of these 850s. It only gives you a couple of them per 850, and you actually need one more for this build. So we actually had to pull this from another build that we had an extra 6 to 8 pin, but we will put in the description a link to where you can buy just a single one of these that'll work with the power supply. But 2 850s is more than enough for this build. Once we actually go through and do some optimization of this build, I can see this being like a little over 1,000 watt build for 13 GPUs, which is just crazy if you think about that. So, you know, we could probably strip another I don't know, 30 or 40, probably pull these down to almost 55 to 60 watts per card, maybe a little higher, 70 watts per card, and there's 13 of them. So it's just a basic math problem to figure that part out. And then you're talking about 55 watts on the board itself, and that'll really put you there. It looks like we did a reboot there. Yeah, I just did a reboot. You can go, yeah, you can go to the other scene too. And you can see the things kind of starting up here. And just to see, yeah, we'll see here. Again, these are just out of the box configured. 242 mega hash for this rig. And these cards right now, with the prices that have now started to drop, you can get these down to about $229. I think on Amazon, we did the link on the Amazon affiliate, and I think they're still pulling $263 for the 3 gig, which is a little too expensive. I mean, this card should be a low 200. Before the real big spike, these cards were down in the like 190 range, $190 dollars a piece. So you know, if you could find these all the way down to that price for the 3 gigs. Now, I'm not talking the 6 gigs. 6 gigs is a whole different game. That's going to be in the mid 250s. You're going to see those for around 259 price point. But you know, if you're looking at a semi low cost rig, when you're trying to fill out an H110 Pro BTC, when you're trying to fill out one of these, and this is the other board that we're going to be using for the. I'll pull this out. You guys can kind of see, just set it on there where those things are running. You know, so this, when you're trying to fill out one of these boards, it's about, you know, what are you going to put in there? How much power is it going to use? What are you going to really need to kind of do this build? And is this thing still running? Yeah, 13. You know, and you know, when you have 13 GPUs, you really have to plan it. You have to figure out what you're going to do from a power standpoint. You're definitely on 2 power supplies for a rig like that. So you're going to have to get something like a daisy chain for your power supplies. You got to make sure that you have your planning in place for your actual, how many of the SATA connectors you have. And the 2 850s just barely cover an entire, you know, if you're doing 2 SATA connection per rail per card. You actually, on your 13th card, actually share one of the SATA connections with the SATA connector on the board. So when you actually divide and conquer out all your SATA connections to plug into your risers, you have just enough with 2 850s for this build for 13 cards. Now that'll be for any setup on the 13 card build, even if it's like a 1080 Ti kind of extreme build. The risers and the SATA is going to be the same kind of setup. It's just you got to plan differently for your actual, you know, your actual connectors for your PCI Express, you know, bonus power on the top for the cards. Because like on a 1080 Ti setup like this, like one of these 1080 Ti's, these are the Founders Editions, and these have an 8 and a 6 pin. So you're talking an entire dual chain, one single rail per card, versus being able to split 1 to 2 cards like we do with this one. Now I'm kind of going I don't want to call it elementary on this discussion, because there's a lot of people that do get this and have built several rigs, and I know I'm just talking things that you already know, but there's a lot of people that reach out and try to ask the very basic questions. So we're trying to cover that in this build to let people understand, if you're going to go out there and you're going to spend the money and time on a ASROCK board, or the subsequent TB250 board, which the TB250 from BioStar has 12 connectors. So you're looking right here where you have your 16 pin, and then you have the rest of your connectors for the 12 total PCI Express connectors. So, if you're planning that out, you need to make sure that you've planned right. And now for the 1080 Ti, the 12 card build, and we kind of did that in the prior two videos, and we had it split between like an 850 and a 1600. What we're going to be doing for that build with the new, looks like we got some random reboots here too. So out of the box, these things obviously are going to have to be set and configured. The actual power usage. I think these things are just rebooting right now because nothing's really set up on them out of the box. You're going to want to bring down the power on them and all that, and we'll do that again in another video. I want to be able to get to the giveaway on this and just kind of show you guys through the rest of the build, and then we'll do a more deeper dive. I want to actually do a configuration build of really kind of setting these up and getting the maximize amount of hash out of these, and I want to go through that just as a full video to show you guys kind of what we're doing from a measuring of the power. We'll bring in the thermal gun with it and show you kind of the outputs on the saturizers, and then we'll go through setting it up on the Simple Mining OS to show you kind of what to set your power limits at, what to set your actual MEM settings and your GPU settings to kind of really maximize that. But I just don't want to do that with this build. I want to have both the 1080 Ti and this. That way you can kind of see the compare and contrast. Where the 1080 Ti uses a little more energy, you can't really take the power wattage down on that. So we'll do that in a different video, but I wanted to show you guys the 13 build here for the 1060, and really got out of the box performance, which is about 18 a piece. Now let's get into, do we have any questions before I switch?
Longevity on 3 GB cards with Ethernet or Ethereum.
Well, so Ethereum right now, we have on bitsbetrippin.com the actual chart mapping out the DAG file, and right now we're looking at the current rate of the block time, and you're looking at the growth of the DAG file that you will not, 3 gig cards will stop being able to be used in mining in November of 2018. So we're talking more than a year from now that these will be not able to be used if Ethereum doesn't switch to proof of stake. Right now they've already pushed the proof of stake out into 2018, but right now 3 gig cards are still good through November of 2018. And if you look, when you start your miner and the DAG file sits there and goes out, right now you're looking at about 2.1, 2.2 gigabytes on the DAG file. So you're nowhere near the 3 gigabyte limit. And additionally, Ubiq coin and any other Dagger Hashimo actual algorithms that leverage off, like if somebody forked Ethereum, they are also way, way low. So like you can still use 2 gigabyte cards for like Ubiq coin, Expanse, stuff like that, that are still way like DAG file of 1.0. And their block times are a lot longer, so the 2 gig cards will fall off on those a lot further. Like for example, within Ethereum in the first year, they're pretty much within a full year, from September of 15 through November of 16, the 2 gig cards fell off to where they couldn't be used. The DAG file had grew from 1 gig to 2 gig in that much time, a little over 2 gig, a little over a year. So you lost the 2 gig cards. You're looking at the 2 gig, you're looking at like Ubiq coin, which has 80-second block times, going to actual 6 years before the 2 gig cards fall off. So it all comes down to block time and the DAG growth, and for Ethereum you're looking at November of 18. So there's a good chance they'll be in proof of stake by that time, and then it's going to be a moot point. It's really where do these cards go? So bottom line, if you're getting 3 gig cards, you're good. I would say right now, especially with the prices being lower, that if you have an opportunity or you want to get into GPU mining, the 3 gig cards are probably your best bet from just a performance versus cost standpoint, because you can get these a lot cheaper. And then a lot of the gamers, while you compete with some of the gamers, a lot of the gamers are going for the 6 gig cards and higher anyway. So The 3 gig cards are fine. Don't let people get you scared on that. The DAG file is not going to matter unless they go and fork and change the DAG growth, which I don't see them doing. They haven't put in an EIP, which is an Ethereum improvement plan, about doing anything like that. Obviously, they can always make a change, but right now you're looking at November 2018. So that was like a long explanation to say you're good. Any other questions before we?
Reiterate the rules for the giveaway and how that the entries have since closed.
Yeah, so the giveaway for this is done. It ended last night, and I actually took a few. There was a few entries that kind of came in right after 6 o'clock this morning, but I put those in there. But so for this, went a whole week from our last video. If you weren't watching, we gave everybody an address to send in some piece of information into. It was just, you put ZOTAC in the body, and then your name, the handle that you're using right now, like in chat, in the actual subject, and then you would be entered in to win that through a random drawing that we're going to be doing here shortly on this episode, and it's worldwide. So we'll pick that here soon, and then you'll reach out in an email if you were the one that was picked, and we'll validate against what you had submitted, and we'll be shipping this out to you. So we'll put some BBT stickers and stuff with it, and yeah, this is the ZOTAC AMP edition, AMP Extreme. This is like the best one you can get. Like, this is literally the best 1070 that you can buy on the market. This thing was $529 retail before the big ramp up, but the AMP Extreme is the top one. It's got the big awesome cooler on it. It all lights up. That's RGB. This is all RGB. This little like crystal looking thing here. It's the triple fan. This thing is in excellent condition. This was more of just a test card. We had it just to see what it could do, and then it's been just sitting out of a box. So the card's in excellent condition. It was, again, we buy all of our stuff. Nothing besides this one ASROCK board is the only thing since our channel started in 2013. This is the very first piece of equipment that any company has ever sent us to review, which is ASROCK reached out and sent us this for free to do a direct review on, and that's why the one that's actually in this rig is one that we actually purchased. So this particular one, which is going to be paired up with the GTX 1080 Ti's, what we were doing a test with those last week. We're getting the rest of them in, and then we're going to build a full 1080 Ti rig to do just kind of a cross comparison from the kind of mid grade to the top tier with all the same exact card, because those are all the Asus Founders versions of the 1080 Ti. So you know, that ZOTAC we purchased and we're giving back as a community gift. Any other questions? And then we'll get kind of into the build. Is this thing actually? Yeah, this thing's hashing 242. We have not done any really configuration on that. You can see all the 3 gig cards there. And then once we will do, some people have asked us about doing a build where we will do like a 6 and a 7 between NVIDIA and AMD, and then try a Windows version of this. We will get to that. Just right now we've been trying to get through all the NVIDIA cards and really getting prepped for Vega, the actual gamer edition side of Vega that should perform a lot better with GPU graphics mining. So let's get one more little pass of this thing. We can go to the scene 3, and I'll kind of show the zoomed out kind of view of this, and that way people can kind of see the kind of build here with the 13. So we got 7 on top, and we got 6 on the bottom on this build. And the way we did the configuration is that way I could track the risers, because now when you're talking this many, you're talking like there's the white and the black actual connectors. So all the black connectors are all the cards on the bottom. So that way I could figure out from left to right. So the left black one is this card here, and that goes straight across. And then all the white connectors we did from the top. And that's really just to know where everything's at and to have an understanding that if I end up having one card that's kind of cool, you know, like if we're going through and we're like, hey, something's not right, one card's not hashing well, I can feel cool to the touch, and then I know, and it's not a, you know, trying to unwind everything to figure out, you know, which one it is, because when you're dealing with that many actual connectors, it gets kind of complicated when you're trying to troubleshoot it. So
2 or 3 inch spacing?
each of these are a little over 2, and actually that's a good question, and I'll do a little, without trying to make people sick here, we'll do this so you can see it's 2.5. So between the 2 cards, right, you can see that half markers right to that other card. So 2.5 there, which gives you enough room to get the one down here in. And you can kind of see that kind of spacing the way that is. And then the height from here, so people know, is we're right here at 4.5, a little over, right at 4.5. And then that gives you just enough to where these can lean up against that, and that's what's holding that. So you don't need anything behind it, especially with these like little half cards, which don't really have enough space in the back because the riser goes all the way to the back of the card. So that gives you just enough to allow you to offset each one and have the range across the top. And then the bottom one down here has this board here that lets these rest up against too. And that's the same distance right there. So right at 4.5 again. So that starts to try to focus. So, and again, this length here is 17 inches. So you can just start to do the math from the bottom of this board. And this is a little, you know, 1/2 inch by 3 inch. It's actually 2.5, I believe. Ends up coming, oh, it's right at 3. So it's 3 inches here, and then this is, you know, just under 1 inch, you know, board. So that's the what they call the 1x3 pine select. That's the 1x3 pine select you can get at a hardware store. It's the nicer looking pine. It's not like real jagged or anything. Nice soft edges and stuff. And again, we use that on the kind of bottom here for this connection. So on this board, we're using the i3 7100, and then with 8 gigs of memory. So it's got the i3 in there. We'll make sure that's in the description. And again, it's got the EVGA 850 P2s and a pair of them back here. And it's kind of a wire mesh right now. This hasn't really been, some of them are zipped up, but you know, it's more of a test first, and then we'll validate that it's running well. All right, we can go back to the other scene here. And then, you know, a lot of people have asked me because they get this new board, you know, and you don't have to put, you know, what I've been telling people is if you go with this ASROCK board, that's great and it's worked. This is the second rig now. The second load of cards, it's pretty much worked out of the box. You know, I just plugged it in. We'll go through the settings real quick too, just for the motherboard settings, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You get into the BIOS, you set all the, it gives you an ability to set all the different settings on each of the slots. You set them all to, I put them all to Gen 1, and you set it into 4G crypto mode, and you're good to go. I mean, the board just picks up the cards that are there and just goes right with it. And I think it just rebounced again. So I'm obviously going to have to do some configuration with the power and the settings here because it's restarting again. Which we'll have to play around with the settings because I really want to get these to around 21, 22 mega hash. And then once we get that, so this live stream today and what we'll be looking at is I'll probably do another one tomorrow if I can get the 1080 Ti set up, and then I'll have them both side by side. And then we'll go through just the detail of actually configuring, because I want to have a whole episode dedicated to that. I want to go through all the different idiosyncrasies of setting the memory and testing, and actually getting down to we're going to try to maximize this build. So I want to make sure that if I have to go to each card individually and set them appropriately, because if you do a blanket set, like let's say we set all these cards to 650 on the memory, there's a good chance that 1 out of the 13, because now we're dealing with a lot more math here, is probably not going to like that, or it's going to cause this, just like right now, this out of the box settings right here, one of the cards here is probably not playing very well, and it's causing the machine to bounce. So we'll have to go through and identify which card that is, and I'll go through that process with you. And then we'll be able to go in there and manually set in Simple Mining each of those settings. So some of these cards may be able to get to 1,000 megahertz, some maybe you'll only get to 650, some will be able to only get probably to 500. But then I'll know at least we'll have a good stable build across all the cards, and we'll maximize their performance. So if some get to 22, 23 mega hash, and then some only get to 21, that's fine, but at least we know that we went through that due diligence to make sure the machine is doing exactly what it can. Once all of them are stable with their hash rate, then we'll start playing with some of the power and see how far we can pull it down without it getting it unstable. And see if we can drive this down towards like a 1,000-watt machine, which I think will be, you know, a target idea for the 13 GPUs. Which, I mean, mind you, not even 6 months ago we were doing 1,000-watt machines with 6 cards. So doing 13, getting over 230 mega hash, 250 mega hash target. Actually, this thing should be end at about 260 mega hash after we're done modifying it. I think that'll be a good rig. 260 mega hash for 1,000 watts, 1,100 watts is real strong. So we'll get to that. So we're about the half-hour mark right now.
Yes.
Excellent. So what we're going to do now, guys, I'll take a few more questions and then we'll go ahead and do the giveaway, because I want to get to that, and then we'll take a few more questions, and then we'll kind of probably end this episode here. I wanted to show you guys this build. I wanted to show you kind of out of the box what it does, and then we'll set up for the next build. More than likely tomorrow, we do have some time tomorrow to do another live stream, but I want to make sure I get that other rig built. We were trying to do it today, we just didn't have time, and with the internet issues that we were having, we had to just focus on that. So see if they have any more questions, and then we'll just bring it.
Number of GPUs in a Windows build?
Right now, 8 is the most stable. I have gotten 9 and got it to work. When we actually had, well, technically you could put 13 in a Windows build if you split them. If you're talking the same GPU, right now 8 is no problem with 8. You can get a many machines doing 8. I have had 9 working with Claymore when I had 9 1070s, but it wasn't stable. Like, it would work, it would actually go out, it would post the 9th, and then it would have a reboot issue. You can get 13 if you split them between different brands. If you have like 7 AMD or 7 NVIDIA and then 6 of the opposite brand, and then you set up your miner to just, like in Claymore, if you do a /DI, you can do a /DI space and then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you do that, and you launch that mine, you save your bat file. You can even do it in the multi-miner and save it that way. When you launch that, it's just going to choose the first 8 GPUs. Well, it's 0 through 7 will do your first 8 GPUs. And then you can do another bat file and do 8, 9, so you can get 2 other GPUs, because there's a limitation in Windows. You can't necessarily, to my knowledge yet, define number 10 and 11 and 12 PCI slot GPUs in Claymore software. It's kind of just a limitation in the bat file. But you could then use the rest of the GPUs in like Zcash. So you actually kind of have to have 3. CryptoMine kind of covered it in his video. We haven't built a split rig yet where we've done the AMD and NVIDIA build with the 13 cards yet. He did in his video, and we'll link to his video on the bottom. And you can kind of see, but he had the same problem that we've seen so far with the current builds. We just have not done a lot with AMD cards lately. Most of it's all been just NVIDIA, because that's what we can get right now. we got anything else on the, or I'm gonna go ahead and we can get through the build.
I think they're ready.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we already had, so again, we had a little over 500 that did the allocation, or at least submitted in for the giveaway. And what we're gonna do is we can pull up. We already had it kind of pre set up tonight to where we've taken all those entries for this. Yep, go ahead and let's hit the checkbox, and we're gonna let Miss BBT do this.
It's cleared.
Oh, did it clear all the names? Fun. Well,
You just pasted it
yeah. We're gonna, we had all the names here. Let's copy those. Let's see if we can get those pasted in here. There we go. Let's uncheck this guy here. All right, so we had a big list here of names. We can kind of see it. You might be able to see your name on here. So I'm dragging all this up. Trying not to drag it off the screen. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to let her select it, and it should post the name on the screen when she hits the button. Good luck.
Ready?
Go ahead and do it. Ryan Walkins. Ryan Walkins. And so we need we're going to validate against his name, and make sure that he had a valid YouTube piece. We did most of them, and so we had about 60 people that didn't have. I couldn't find any YouTube content or any kind of like their channel. I think it was just people that kind of maybe saw it from a friend or something and just sent their name in, so they weren't handles. But congrats, Ryan. I don't know if he's in the chat right now. But what we're going to do is if we cannot get reach out, we're going to give it roughly like 48 hours. And if we don't see anybody, if he does not respond or anything back to the email, then what we'll do is we'll do on the next live stream, we'll pick another winner for that. Hopefully in the next week or so, I'll have some shirts, and then we'll be able to give some of those away. And then I'll hopefully, you know, as you guys are sharing and liking and subscribing and, you know, hitting a lot of our videos, we're starting to get a little more interest from the commercial side. If they can start sending out, like once we get through this ASROCK build and stuff, maybe from the free stuff that ASROCK and stuff sends out to us, maybe we can get that back out to you guys. I mean, that's no, you know, all the test boards and stuff. We'll talk with the companies that send us the swag to test, and then maybe getting that back out to you guys as a free gift. You know, as we test it and review it, you know, there's no reason why we need to hold on to a lot of that stuff. So being able to get it out and get it back to the community, I think is more important, and it also spikes interest for you guys. So we'll work with them to see if we can get some of that stuff moved for other future giveaways. But Ryan is a lucky guy for the ZOTAC, and we'll get that out to him. I don't know if he's said anything in chat or if he's watching.
No, we haven't seen anything yet.
You haven't seen anything yet. So again, without you guys seeing the site we were using for the random picker and all the entries. So we'll get that out, and if we can start spreading out some more of that love with other pieces of equipment, we will to you guys. I'd like to have a little more spread of content, you know, stuff that you guys can have a chance at. So let's take one more look at this thing with just trying to change one setting on the. Let me see. People are already trying to buy the card. That's funny. We're gonna come back here real quick and then let's see if we can change. There's already people offering Ryan for the best 1070 out there on the market. It's an opportunity. So Ryan, you might have an opportunity on the secondary market. if you do not need it. But this is one awesome card. You guys about 6 or 7 episodes back, you guys have seen, and that card actually was doing almost 30, I think 34 mega hash on Ethereum when we tested it with it. So the card is in amazing. I'll kind of give a good close up of this thing. Just kind of giving a prop to why that thing's rebooting. Go to scene 3 on this thing. You guys can see, I mean, there's no dust in those fans. This thing is rock solid build. It's like a triple DIN card. It's twin 8 pin. That little ZOTAC symbol does light up. Very dense. It's copper pipes. Display port and that. So let me get to the back of this thing. This thing weighs a ton too. That's an aluminum kind of background. The push the limit does light up. Got this little power booster piece there, and it says ZOTAC there. Again, that's a nice piece of clean sheet metal. I mean, not here. You can switch back. Quality on it is like very top notch. Like this is one of the best ZOTAC cards out there. And I've been looking actually for a 1080 Ti version of this, the Amped Extreme, for a while now.
What was the lowest CPU for this rig again?
So with the 13 GPUs, I'd recommend the i3s. There's been a lot of people that reached back out to me and asked, what CPU were we going to use with this, and I was not recommending using the Celeron. There's just a lot of GPUs here, and I wanted the PCIe lanes, of having the i3 7100. So that's what we're using right now on that. That's what on the previous build with the 1080 Ti, we were using the i7 7700K, which was way overkill. You do not need that kind of a processor. But the i3 7100 seems to be a real good median processor to use.
So a 2-thread CPU would not...
You can. There's just been some people reporting. We have not seen it yet with like the I think it was the 3950 Celeron. I think it's a 3950. Might be incorrect on that. Maybe a 1650 Celeron that was having issues. Like they were having very inconsistent issues with the hashing, and it would slow down the OS so much. But once they switched to the i3, everything cleared up. So I would recommend the i3. It's not that much more. You're talking $30 to $40 more.
It just rebooted again.
The who?
It just rebooted again.
Oh, did it? Yeah, we'll let it come up. I just reset some settings, and I brought the power, I believe, down to, or no, I don't think I went up with it. I just did a few settings just to see if we could peak it over to higher than what it was. One of these cards may be able to not do 1,000, so we can try one more little setting while I take some questions. Oh no, it popped up. Yeah, and simple mining with these boards, guys, you guys gotta let them have some time. I thought I gave it enough time. Oh, these things are making all kinds of noise.
Where's the
We're just
power
at 19.
thing again?
The who?
Power.
Power on it right now. 1350.
Oh, too low.
Too low. If they can see that. 1350 right now. So almost 250. I mean, this is 19. Simple mining's power control is a little different, and we're still working through figuring it out, the accuracy of it too, because like 1,000 in simple mining seems to be reacting different than 1,000. The 1,000 in just Linux, like an overclock of 1,000 memory, seems to be operating a little differently than what 1,000 in actual Windows is operating at.
You have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
From Montreal, they have a question about the multi-miner. Is there a way to set it up where it will automatically reboot, say, after a power outage?
After a power outage, yes. So like, as long as your motherboard is set to power on after AC power off, which you can find in your BIOS, then you could go into your Windows startup and make sure the multi-miner of whatever selector that you're selecting. Let's say you're choosing number 33, which is Ubiq coin in the multi-miner 5.3 version. If you go in there and you just set the multi-miner's path into a shortcut, so the actual start.bat, and edit that start.bat shortcut file, just hit file and then edit on it, at the end of the actual the run statement, to the right of that, just do a space bar and then do number 33 and then save that in the shortcuts like command path. We shown it 2 videos ago. If you go back and review when we're going through the multi-miner, kind of it's about midway through that video, we kind of show, and then I'll bring it up next time we have Windows up on one of the rigs, and I'll show you how to do that. But if you set that shortcut with the actual number that you use in that as part of your shortcut, so in the command line you set it to the right of it, and then you save that and have it in your Windows startup, if the power goes off and comes back on, the machine should power back up, because you have it set in the BIOS to say if there's a power loss, once AC is restored, boot the machine up. That'll boot the computer up, the miner up, and then when Windows actually starts, it'll automatically start up that BAT file with the number that it's selected.
Since this is not a Windows build, is there a way to bring up the GPU temperatures and your fan RPMs?
Let me make sure this is. I'm going to do this. We're going to do. Which one?
So since this is not a Windows build, can you check GPU temperatures or fan RPMs on this?
Yeah, so GPU temps in that right now on the screen that's up on the bottom left, you'll see all the cards and what their performance is. Yeah, you're seeing all the Celsius and the fans as part of Simple Mining's OS, and then that's the actual web page for Simple Mining, showing the rig and all of its settings, so you can see everything in there. And I just pushed a 1250 memory offset to these cards, which again, I said in Linux, the memory offset works a little differently than it does in Windows, so the numbers are a little misconstrued by different. So you'll see that this I don't know if this 1250 will work. And this, I'm kind of getting into what I said I was going to do in the other episode. I was just going to see if I could bust these over 20 before we wrap up the video, and see what we can get out of it. So we're just under 20. We're at 19 and a half mega hash. I think we can take these to almost 2,000 memory offset, maybe 1,500, and that'll put in Linux. It'll push them into the 20s. Just reboot. It looks like it rebooted. I'm gonna have to find the one card that's there's probably 1 or 2 cards that don't like that setting, but we'll probably end up somewhere around 1,500 memory offset on a couple of these, and then the rest of them will go. But it looks like we're pushing now that 260 mega hash rate that I was talking about. That's the real kind of target for this rig. So we'll do the separate video with them to show that. Any other?
There was a settings, but I think he
100.
said he had 6 gig cards.
103. Yeah, I usually don't push the actual core. We'll try that. And I'll let it do a fresh boot. And you guys are seeing how we're changing that in Simple Mining. And what I'm doing, I was just doing a power off real quick on all the cards.
Could you use Virtual PC to run more GPUs on Windows?
More than likely not. There's just because of the way virtualization works in Windows and being able to run a miner in that, I haven't seen virtualization work very well with running mining software, just because of its exclusive requirements to connect to that GPU and assign that resource. You're more than likely going to get like a resource not kind of like a locked thread issue if you were trying to do CPU mining. It's not the virtual miner is not going to gain the whole GPU thread. We're going to let this try one more time. We'll take some questions while you guys are doing that, and then we'll wrap this episode up to just kind of show the 13 GPU from the 1060 as possible. And kind of you guys are seeing kind of out of the box what is in the realm of possible for 1060s. And then I'm really excited to get the rest of this 1080 build completed and then have both of them setting up here, hopefully as early as tomorrow on that episode. And then we can go through some real back and forth. I'll get it set up to where I can actually make the modifications over here, so I don't have to keep going off the screen. But given our internet situation today, we had to make some adjustments to make everything work correctly. So got another.
Yes. Deckel asked if he has 6 connectors on his PSU, how could I get the 7 to 8 6-pins that they need? Should I get it from a SATA rail?
No, I would not do the SATA rails. If he has 6 out of his PSU, and he needs the other 8s.
He said 7 plus 8 6-pins. I don't know if that means 7 to 8 6-pins.
So you can use the 6-pin to 8-pin adapters, which we've shown before. I don't know if I have any right around here. Maybe some available here. Yeah, I don't think I have any right quickly available in front of me here, but you can get a 6 to an 8-pin adapter, and those work fine. With most of these newer cards, they don't have such a high rel requirement with needing like 30 amps on each of the rels. Most of them work fine with 15. But you can get those to kind of fit the need. So like if this was a situation where these were all 8-pin, and I had a split rel like this where I have an 8-pin on one side and a 6-pin on the other. That's the way a lot of the EVGAs are. They don't have 8 pins on their second portion here like the thermal takes do. Like the thermal takes have an actual on their, and here's a thermal take, on their split connectors here like this, the thermal takes have both 8 pins. So they have an 8-pin on their main, and then the 8 pins on the secondary. And that's really nice because you have 2 8-pins on one rail, where the EVGAs have an 8-pin and a 6-pin. So you have to get the adapter that can go from 6-pin to an 8-pin to turn that last 6-pin into an 8-pin. And on older cards like the 290s, I would not recommend it because the 290s required so much amperage from the actual rail itself that you'd be drawing too much and it just wouldn't work. You'd have a lot of weird random reboots and things that were very predicated on not getting enough power because you'd have the 2 8-pin connectors on some of the higher end like Toxics or Tri-X 290Xs that you really needed 2 individual rails, or you needed something that was really built for 2 8-pins like the thermal takes were. Any other questions? We're going to try to wrap it up right at an hour.
As a BTC miner, is there something, would you know of, that they need to do to prepare their miners for the split?
As a BTC miner?
That's what they said.
So all of your BTC mining, guys, if you're mining BTC, if you have an AMP miner, you have a Sponduli Tech or any of that, you are probably not doing solo mining. You are doing it to a pool, and the pool is handling all the switch stuff. So all your pools that you're going to should define to say what they're doing. If they're going to be taking your hash power that you have going to their pool, and if they're saying, hey, we are going to support the other chain. So that's the real big thing. If you have just one single unit and you just have it hooked up and you have it hooked up to a pool, you got to find out what the pool's going to do with the pooled hash power, and make sure that it falls in line with what you wanted. It looks like those settings, by the way, are not functioning. That 100, it's probably the power limit. More than likely. Let's give it.
Picking your winner, Ryan's in denial. He joined the channel after you, or the chat after you picked, and he doesn't believe us.
Yeah, Ryan, congratulations, you won. You're the proud winner of that. Is that his actual name in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So some people are
It looks somebody just made it.
Yeah. I know. So some people are like, some people's actual handle name and their YouTube is the same, and that's fine. There were a lot of those. So a lot of the names that you saw in there, that's the actual handles and stuff that people are using for their. They didn't. Not that they have YouTube channels, and nor didn't anybody need a YouTube channel. It's just if you were logged into Google and that's your YouTube login. That's what we were looking at. We'll make sure that we clarify. Since this last giveaway, guys, there's been a lot of. We had a few people kind of, I guess, not report or that like there was some issues with doing the giveaway, but there's a lot of rules that you have to follow to do giveaways on YouTube, and part of that's like posting official rules, making sure everybody understands how to participate and all that kind of stuff. So the next giveaway is going to be a little more let's say more kind of what you would expect from a normal giveaway, to where we'll have a page posted about it, and you can always see the rules and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna hear our giveaways to make sure that people understand more clear and concise. Don't worry, the ZOTAC AMP edition is an awesome piece of giveaway compared to what most people give away on a site. I think from a base dollar value, it's way up there. I was trying to make sure that we weren't breaking any rules or anything by like doing a giveaway at that kind of high, which I think we're still good. But I mean, it's not like I'm giving you guys a car or anything. But we'll make sure that other people can participate if you missed it. It's just you gotta subscribe, and you gotta follow us and watch the videos. So you're more than welcome to tell your friends and folks that are into this kind of thing, or just want to know about it, to subscribe and have a chance at winning. So congratulations. Was it Ryan? That was it? Yep. Ryan's the big winner. So send us an email, Ryan, for I can validate your info and your shipping information. We'll take a few more questions. We're going to see if this thing actually boots up with this other adjustment and setting. Looks like it's trying to. And I also have a Linux build, like a fresh Ubuntu build, and we have the multi-miner now on Linux. So I'm going to look to get our multi-miner, the Linux shell version of it that has that for Linux, and maybe go through that on one of the next live streams too, not just do simple mining. Kind of show you guys that base Ubuntu build that goes out and updates the graphics drivers for NVIDIA and AMD, and then has like a multi-miner setup for Linux, which will give you that option to using 13 of the same GPUs in Linux, and still have the options of the multi-miner to be able to leverage other coins. So and then also on this next one, when we get into the configuration of this, I'll do some dual mining with it. I mean, with the 3 gig cards, you're a little more limited with the dual mining, but it still should come up. So we're waiting for this to build. Do we have another?
Yeah, we have a super chat asking your thoughts on 3 different coins: Soil Coin, Music Coin, and Zcash.
Okay, so on Music Coin is part of the 5.4. It's still, we had some bugs with it, guys. I was trying to make sure that it was stable. It's not stable. If I can get through it this weekend, I will get 5.4 out there. Music Coin is part of that. We added Music Coin. We added, I think it's like, I can't remember the name of it. It's like Stig something, S-T or S-I-G-M, I don't remember. We looked up and did some research on it. There's a signature, I don't remember. there's another coin out there that we've already done. That's part of that also build. So if you're mining it right now, it will be part of multi-miner 5.4. And we added, I believe, 2 more other coins to the multi-miner, but Zcash was not one of them. We can look into it. Now, the first one, Soil Coin, I have not looked into at all. We can make a note of it and take a look, guys.
So, did you have any information about any of those?
No, Music Coin we'll have in the multi-miner. There's no other.
Just your thoughts on the coin itself, not.
I like the concept of Music Coin. There's an also they have kind of a competitor right now with I think it's Opus. If anybody's heard of it, there's an ICO called Opus out there, Ethereum to OPT coin, and I did do some research with Opus. And I think we did 1 or 2 Ethereum to Opus, so we did participate in that ICO with a couple coins to get the OPT. I like the concept of it. They did a pretty decent description of what they're trying to accomplish with that, with having direct to artist stuff. So I think Music Coin and them would be kind of a competitor with each other. It's just you don't mine the OPT. Music Coin you can mine.
Anything about Soil Coin? Have you heard?
Never heard of Soil Coin.
Zcash?
I've heard of Zcash, just haven't researched it.
Gotcha.
We'll see if this comes up and then we'll.
Questions about the different memory types in GPUs? Hynix over, whatever the other one is.
I've always had a lot better success with Samsung more than any other, but some of the Hynix memory on like this thing likes to spin up when it first comes up. No, I didn't like that last power setting. Samsung's always been some of the best memory that we've ran into. The Hynix on like the 570s, 4 gigs, the XFX 570s, those seem to be pretty consistent where we can get 27, 28 mega hash out of them. Micron, it seems to be in a lot of the smaller chipsets like the 560s and stuff. Not too many issues, and I believe what's the other one? They can say it. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. My mind's not on memory types right now. The other one I've had probably more issues than any of the others. Hynix has been fine for us though. I think this thing's still complaining about power, or it doesn't like the GPU being that high. So I'm going to take the GPU down to 20. We're gonna
With the different memory types, he was saying he had 2 cards that were the same card but with different memory types, and the Hynix was not performing as well as the Samsung.
Oh no, the Hynix will not perform. Samsung's kind of the premium memory, it seems, in a lot of the GPUs. The Samsungs get some of the best memory speeds, and seem to have the best straps out there, like the 8 gig, like some of the best cards out there, the MSI Gaming X 8 gig 580s. You can get still into the 30 mega hash range with those. Yeah, Aldelphia. Yeah, Aldelphi or whatever. Alpida. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's probably the one I've had the most problems with. But yeah, the Samsung memory is amazing. But unfortunately, you can't pick and choose. You essentially grab the card off the shelf, and it's silicone lottery. Especially like with the Gaming X, because the Gaming X MSI 580s come in Samsung and come in, I think, in Elpida. We're gonna let this reboot one more time, guys, and then we're gonna wrap it up, and we'll be bringing the 1080. Hopefully, we'll have the rest of the 1080s in, and we'll put that build together next to this one, and then we'll do some deep diving on the actual configuration, and then we'll test it with some other coins. Like I want to see this with Ethereum and Library, Ethereum and Scicoin, Ethereum, and we're gonna test those different coins out. We'll put a few other algorithms against it and see what a 1060 build can do, and then we'll take power and all that kind of settings and stuff with it too. So the first part was just the build to see what we can get. Let's see if this last. You can go to scene 2 real quick, and we'll let them see this. See if this thing's gonna boot with the. Just did the settings there. Yeah, it looks like the low 19s. So this would be those settings right now. This would be like a 20, close to 20.3 mega hash build in Windows. Windows seems to be about a mega hash faster than Linux with these. So you're going to go a little slower in Linux. So yeah, those settings right now should be close to 20.3, 20.5 in Windows. So yeah, if we can get this thing after some testing to a, and I think we're a lot lower because I lowered the power. Oh, it rebooted. Yeah, it was sitting at 900 and then it rebooted. So that's a little low power. I think we need to bring the power up a little bit. But I mean, we were running 250 mega hash here for a second at 950 watts, which is crazy talk. I think these things need a little more power than that. And if we feed them a little more power, I think we can keep this right around. I mean, like I said, the math that we were doing on this when we ordered this was trying to keep this thing right at 1,000 watts. And if we can get 260 out of them, I think that'll be great. So we'll see if we can get to that.
We're over an hour.
So if there's no other questions, guys, what I would say is tune into us. If you guys haven't went out and got a Steemit account, get a Steemit account. There's a lot of really good content on there, not just our content. A lot of people blogging on there and putting some good stuff out there. Follow us on Steemit. It'll be in the description below, and put your questions out there if you want something specific, and especially in preparation for when we do the deep dive of this and looking at memory settings and all that other stuff. If you want to see certain other things, make sure that you put it in this description, and we can get it added as part of that content when we start to talk through it. Is any other?
We got movie tickets in an hour. Let's do this.
Yeah, we got movie tickets in an hour. Miss BBT's making sure we stay on point on that. So stay tuned. Don't be strangers. Drop some comments out there. Help us share and get this stuff out there, guys.
Click on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then obviously if you're doing some Amazon affiliate shopping, I'm not saying pick us, but if you guys are doing some shopping, take care. That's how you guys can take care of some of the YouTubers out there. Not just us. There's a lot of other YouTubers that have affiliate links out there. That's how a lot of us help pay for a lot of the extra stuff. I mean, again, we buy all this stuff ourselves. And part of that hedge to show you guys and walk through that stuff with you guys is from your guys is just normal purchasing. You guys are going to go out there and buy stuff anyways, right? So, do everybody a solid if you can. And, if you click through that, we do it. I mean, all of our Amazon purchases, I mean, there are some really happy YouTubers. Let's just say that, especially when we're doing some serious purchasing out there. We're definitely taking care of those guys, especially the lower end channel guys that are trying, not like a Linus. I mean, those guys, they have a whole media group. They're doing fine. But,
you can help them too.
Yeah, you can help them too, obviously. I mean, Paul's Hardware, those guys, that helps a lot more than you guys can imagine. So, do everybody solid for that. And, ask those questions. Do not be afraid. If you see something wrong or you guys see something out there, ask us and let us know. Say, hey, I didn't, somebody dropped us a line on a chat the other day and said, hey, man, I felt like I was misled on a board. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're always using the same boards all the time. The Z270A, the AR, the ASROCK, and on that it happened to be on that video. We had an H270 Asus Prime. And I had said a couple times in there an Asus 270 Plus, and that was an incorrect thing. And unfortunately, he went out and bought the Plus. The Plus doesn't work right. So keep us honest on that, and we'll get it corrected. So You know, the primes, the 270s work real well, but yeah, the pluses not so much. I mean, they don't have the 4G settings, and you can't get more than 4 cards on them without having some issues. So, you know, if you see something out there, don't be afraid to put it out there. I won't take any personal hit on it. I want to make sure that everybody gets the right information. That's the point of this channel, is to make sure that we're educating each other, and making sure everybody is not making stupid buying decisions, and you know, can meet that. So hang out there, and stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter, and is that thing still doing? Yeah, it's back up to 1200. Follow us on Twitter, and you'll see that build tomorrow as it starts to be formed. I'll be taking some pictures on it. Stay tuned.